are you? And welcome to the show.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. I'm so excited for our conversation today.
I am
Thank
too.
you.
I'm looking forward to all these juicy conversations that we're gonna have. So let me start it off, and I would love for the audience to know what really inspired you to become a leading pleasure advocate and erotic blueprint coach.
Oh my goodness, thank you. Yes, I love this question. So, I can't remember when I heard this statement, but it would have been about 10, 12 years ago. And it landed me like, it's like, something falls from the sky, but where our pleasure is our responsibility. And when I heard that statement, so much changed for me as a woman. And I started to then dissect and understand of how much of my life had been around tethering towards hope and trying to fit myself into something that someone else would accept. And I just, that one statement just cascaded everything for me. And so then, being a woman, being involved in like women's circles and raising my child on my own. So therefore being with lots of women, this part of diminishing ourselves because of our sensuality and our wildness was all around me. And to me, it was very painful. So when I started taking the steps to really claim, this place within myself that I am not too much and that women have this incredible gift in their pleasure, like so much started to change for me. And then I started to truly understand how, pleasure is not this frivolous thing or this thing that it's a prize at the end of the week or a prize once all the monthly stuff is put in. It's actually very necessary for our health. So it's also a huge journey on decolonizing ourselves around when it comes to pleasure. But it's
Yeah.
just truly understanding that pleasure is our responsibility and we need it in the center of our life for our health, our wealth, and our well being for everyone around us. So to me, it's like a revolution.
Yeah, it's funny you said that because, again, going back in history, I think sexuality was so much more open. Like we're talking about the Egyptians and even the Mayans, where
Hmm.
something somewhere shifted. Where I mean, I don't know if this is part of the religion part of it or the cultural part of it, where we women have been shunted, and that was like I think you and I, we spoke this before recording, that we women have been basically you get married, this is what you do. You cook, you take care of your family. That's it.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a pivotal moment, I think, for women right now, um, to look within themselves and really open
Hmm.
up and talk. And I'm so happy to have you on to
Hmm.
touch on that subject, because I find it too that
Yeah.
it's very, very important, especially for women like ourselves who are in our 50s. It's like sex or sexuality or the pleasure, it's not ending. Like I always say, it's the beginning.
It gets so much juicier. And this is what's so exciting. And this is, one huge message I think that both you and I really hold is that,
Mhm.
our life isn't over once you reach 30, 35. Like it's so mind blowing to me when I see sort of groups or hear women talking, oh my God, I'm 30, my life is over. I'm like, oh, honey, you haven't even started. But we also have a cultural narrative to make sure that women don't understand their power. I mean,
Mhm.
when you're talking about where the big shift has happened through, I mean, I know there's many different timeline, or that we can pinpoint it to many different things, but I think two of the major parts are when spirituality was removed and religion took over as a business, and then we also had, the Industrial Revolution. So
Mhm.
when we think of the Industrial Revolution, about what it created in our cultural narrative, which is this part where a woman needed to be owned because a man now owned property. He owned the fact that he went into Mother Nature and said, "This is mine." Like now we own land, and we own trees, and we own businesses. So all of the work that this one man sold, like he's on his own. This is where it hasn't worked for men or women, where the
Mhm.
man on his own now is building an empire, his business, his home, everything, and he's solely responsible for it. So therefore, he has to know who his children are. Before then, all men looked after all children. All women looked after all children. There isn't this thing of like, well, that's my son, so I work and I give food to that child. So the Industrial Revolution really cemented that paradigm, and then religion also did that as well. So now you come as a unit, a very, very small unit to place all of your energy on this deity, this one person, this religious concept. Because women, we worked with the land. Like, we know how to heal ourselves. We know how to find water. We know how to find food. Men also do that through hunting. But this concept of diminishing the unit of belonging, which is family, out of community into family. So now it's like the stakes are really high of where your energy is going to go. So that is how women have been diminished. Like, now you're witches. Now, like, all of your stuff isn't needed, so that we can maintain this status quo of, production. And so now we have to diminish who the feminine is.
Yeah.
So this fact of like removing our power, removing our knowledge, the fact that our knowledge isn't something that is deemed important, is frivolous. So that's where pleasure has been too. Because if you have a woman that, is insatiable around her pleasure, around her orgasm, around her sexuality, a woman that loves her life after she's finished producing women. So once she's walked through regenopause, now, and we'll get into this about how our body changes and how orgasms change and they get deeper and there's more, and there's this incredible new world of sensitivity that opens up once we finish bleeding. This is so powerful because we also become very intolerant to bullshit. And you can't have a world of women that are intolerant to bullshit, because then they'll be questioning the last 30 years in relationships that, don't serve the man or the woman really. So it's very dangerous to have a woman in her power for the system. It's not dangerous. It's incredible for humanity. So you vilify women for their pleasure. You vilify them for how they are. It's a mathematical equation to control a society, is you diminish the woman.
Yeah, just like our ancestors, they were burned, all you called it, the witches were burned on the stake. All that healing power, and the women that were there, they all lost their lives. And I think that's where the society has shunned us in a way. If you do this, this is what's going to happen to you,
Yeah, the punishment. If you are you. So also dissecting that part of like, if you're a witch, you will be punished. If you are you, if you're a woman in her womanness, you will be punished. And that is in every layer of our culture. You will be punished for being vibrant and as a woman. And I live here in Mexico, very Catholic country. Culture, very, very Catholic in the culture, same all Central South America, which is mind-boggling to me because it's not the land. But anyway, and it's so mind-boggling to me that people don't see the absolute contradiction in this, where they're vilifying the women for being a witch and the witch hunts, and we now must place all of our energy into this person, Jesus Christ, who is now white, which is just mind-boggling to me. But anyway, but
that's
they
another
are
topic.
it's a whole other topic. But what's the word? They are they're praying to a man that they say turned water into wine. Now that's not fucking witchcraft. But a woman who's collecting herbs out of the forest to put on, to get arnica and dragon's blood to put on a wound that's going to heal the wound in 48 hours. That's witchcraft. But this man who pushes a rock and gets out of a cave on his own strength and then just keeps on pulling fish out of a basket and he never went fucking fishing. That's not witchcraft. Like, I just think it's like we're so messed up. It's hilarious. It's so funny. Anyway, I entertain myself with all of these paradigms. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Now, like, it's just, I find it too, the deeper you go, the more it really opens your perspective and eyes to of what was happening for decades and decades. So So can you explain what erotic blueprints are, and how can they help individual understand their sexuality?
To me, this is the way that I support my clients. special, well, I should say especially in couples, everyone, it changed everything for me when I became an erotic blueprint coach. And even before, like I was in their field for a while. So just even being on their emails and understanding, doing the quiz changed everything. So many people have heard about the love languages, the 5 love languages, how we
Mhm.
give and receive love, and how it's different for everyone, and which one is more prominent for you, and those things. And so for people who haven't heard about them, the 5 love languages are touch, words of affirmation, service, gifts. What is it? Touch, words of affirmation, gifts, acts of service, quality time. So when we have a 2 people together, and say someone's what do you call it? Love language is touch, but their partner's love language is acts of service. So someone's whose love language is touch, but their partner is making the meals all the time. Yeah, their partner is, change, like sees that the light globe's out, so changes the light globes. Make sure there's fuel in the car. But person A here is feeling unloved because they're not being touched, whereas person B is like demonstrating from their love language. I love you. I love you. I'm making sure everything is your life is easy by me doing all of these acts of service. So unless we understand that, there's often a missing, and this is often what a lot of arguments are about, and a lot of sort of separation is around. Even in a daily life where we feel disconnected. That's the word I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the love languages, and the reason I explain that is so it's easier to understand the erotic blueprints. So the erotic blueprints are 5 different ways that our nervous system tries to turn on. So we live in a culture where, it's really only one of the love languages that's really pushed forward, which is the sexual. If we look at pornography, we look at get dressed this way and you'll be
Mm-hmm.
wanted.
Mm-hmm.
If we look at all of the sex toys out there, that's just for the sexual. Oh, you can't get off, don't worry. Just do this and it'll only take 5 minutes, And we've also
Mm-hmm.
diminished sex into a really quick, fast act. It's an act.
Right.
So, and the sexual is really beautiful. It is one of the blueprints. There's, so much juice in the sexual. But the other blueprints are sensual, energetic. We've got the kink and the shapeshifter, as well as the sexual. Now, when you understand your erotic blueprint, now you get to create these invitations to your partner so that you can be met and you can also go towards your partner. So it act in their blueprint. So when we understand what ours is, we get to cultivate that. We get to then understand how we need to be touched, which is going to be different to your partners, which widens the whole scope. It's amazing. So it's a language so that we understand how eroticism, works in our own body. And of course, once you are well fed, what we say, once you're well versed and well fed and looked after in your own erotic blueprint, you
Mm-hmm.
can then, of course, explore the other blueprints. And so it's such an incredible playground to have a language around eroticism.
So once they discover their own erotic blueprint, how can they understand? Do you actually go through all of them, the 5 steps, so they can understand the importance for intimacy? Or
When you say the 5 steps, you mean the 5 different
yeah,
blueprints? So
yes,
what's really
that's what I
important
meant.
first? Yeah. So what's really important first is to understand your own. There's a quiz that you can do, and we can put that link down here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a quiz that you take, and once you understand which one is yours, you need to be fed. You need to feel looked after and nourished in your
Mm-hmm.
blueprint. So someone who's energetic. This is also around boundaries. So when I work with clients is first of all, we make sure that you nourish and fulfill yourself in your own blueprint. Now, the erotic blueprint's not just about sex and
Mm-hmm.
sex with your partner. It's also how we operate in life. So an energetic superpower is they can be they can be not even touching. They can be very separate from their partner, and they can be eye gazing, and they can just be breathing, and they can be, cultivating the sexual energy, and they can have an orgasm fully clothed without touching and across the room from their partner. And energetic, when we look at breath work. We look at, Tantra goes between energetic and sensual, also kink, really. Tantra goes into everything. There's a lot of practice in the tantric world. Oh, I know
Yeah.
that there's something I wanted to say. In the tantric world, that's around energy. You can be fully clothed, doing breath work, moving energy through your body so that the sexual energy expands and fills all different parts, goes through different neural pathways in your body so that you can have orgasmic experience, orgasms, and you can be so turned on by life by doing certain meditations, by doing breath work, etc. So if you, which also means as an energetic, your energetic field goes a long way out, and you're very aware of it. Everyone's energetic field goes a long way out, but the energetics are, tend to be more aware of it, more often. So also what that means in your normal life is the boundary of having someone so close. So your nervous system will shut down if things are happening too fast. Shut down if someone's too close. This can even be your partnership. There's a couple that I was on a call, and this couple was sharing, the woman, she's very energetic and her partner's very sensual. And so for her, she worked at home and her husband would work out. And so it'd work out of the home. So because she's in her own world at home, she's in her own space. Her husband's coming home. He's so into his woman. So when he gets home, he wants to hug her and he wants to touch her and he wants to smell and wants to see her. He comes into the house like, baby. Her system is like, boom, shut down. It's like,
I know a couple people like that.
yeah. And this is not about rejection. It's not about not
Yeah.
wanting to see. So they had to set up some things. So she needed, this is around the conversations. What do you need? So she needed a text message from him when he was about 20 minutes, half an hour from home. Is he willing to do that? Of course. Hey, babe, I'm on my way home. I'll be home in about half an hour. Okay. So now her brain is like, oh, someone's going to walk through the door. Boom. Now, if she's doing something, she gets to place like, sweetheart, I'm in the middle of something, da, 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 da. I will come and find you when I'm finished. Also,
The communication.
It's the communication. It's like, they're not, even if they do, then when they do meet too, it's like if she's had a really long day, she needs the slowness. But then what does he need? He needs touch. It's also about his needs. So she could put her hand when he was coming towards her, and if she needed a bit more slowness, she gets to put her hand on his heart, straight on his heart, big smile on her face, looking into his eyes, like the eye gazing part, hand. And so then he gets to hold her hand. So she's at arm's length. So she's able to, and he's holding her hand and he's like squeezing her hand. You can feel her warmth on his heart. So he's melting, and that ending in the smiles. And then she gets to lean in the hug. And, this can take 3 seconds. This could take 2 minutes. It could take 10 minutes, but both needs are being looked after. So when we're looking at the blueprint of how we operate in life is also to deal with the erotic blueprint. So then coming up with these ways that they can have their erotic blueprints looked after. So now once your blueprint is you having things in place, you're you're looking after yourself. It's also, this is around self-pleasure. Your pleasure is your responsibility. And energetic, go and get Reiki, do breath work every day, use a feather to touch yourself, or when your partner's touching you, to have light, soft touching rather than, gripping and like pinned up against the wall. Like maybe you need a lot softer stuff that really turns you on. So once you are nurtured in and you are nourished in your own blueprint, your nervous system is good. So then it's like, what do you want to explore together? Obviously, first of all, like to really go into your partner's blueprint, especially if they're opposite to yours. And then as a couple, once all of, that, we have lifelongs together, like especially if you're in a marriage, it's like you have it now until you're 103. So there's so much to explore. Like it's not just a one and done thing on a weekend. And then you go into, maybe you want to get into Shibari rope tying, you want to get into the kink. And so then what do you need? You go and do classes. How do you do that even from your own erotic blueprint place? Maybe it's like, yeah, I do want to explore sex toys and sexual. And everything is curiosity and information. This is also what intrigues me often, the way that people go into sex as if, if we give it a go, it's got to be good and it's got to work out. Otherwise, it's a failure.
Like having that plan where plans tend to not work out, right?
No,
So, yeah.
And it's like in business. It's like in sports.
Yeah.
You can like you're playing soccer and you're on the field and you miss the kick.
Yeah.
You don't give up soccer because you miss that one bloody kick.
I
Do you
guess
meet
it's
the same
hard,
people?
when you're a parent, for example, of two, three, four children, you're like on a schedule. I know some friends of mine who actually had to book in
Mm.
their date, whatever was happening on the date, in their calendar because they were so busy. And, at the end of the day, you're super tired and you're like, okay, I'm exhausted, So,
Mm.
yeah.
I love that you brought. Oh, sorry, darling. Hmm.
So let's say you have a young couple, right? They just got married, or let's say they're married for about a year or two or something like that, and they have a family, they have children, obviously the, um, sexual desire was super healthy, super great. And then the children came, and then, like in majority relationships, marriages, the sex drive and everything, especially for a woman,
Hmm.
it plunges.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, what the question would be, how can she get out of that slum?
This is
And,
such a great
again,
question.
sometimes you have that child, you're like, you're dirty, you have spit all over yourself, you don't feel like changing, you don't shower for 3 days,
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, yeah. So this is where we also get to look at our what is really important and what are our priorities, and it's also in increments. You can only get more of what you already know.
mhm,
So, and when you say that, especially women, like our systems are very different. We need to be relaxed to be able to be open. So when
right.
you're looking at a couple that have had a child and the child's two, you have to remember that sex and intimacy and the coming together produce that child. But that child doesn't now rule your life. Like the
Mhm,
relationship needs to be put in the center. Intimacy needs to be put in the center. So what can you do? And you're looking at priorities. It's like what the child is too. Of course, it can be looked after by someone else by this stage, and even being
mhm,
parts of groups where you can do swaps. So you know, um, instead of like when you're looking at scheduling, especially when kids grow older and when we look at business, there's always in the diary the children's violin lessons, and they never get missed. And
mhm,
so, how we prioritize everyone else's needs and not ours, which is a dangerous, slippery slope. Same
mhm,
with business. If you're not attending to your business, it's not going to go anywhere. So, same with your
right.
relationship. You're not going to attend to it. What do you think the results are going to be? So, it's also
Mhm,
like changing your mindset. It's like, this is actually non negotiable. Now, half an hour, if you've got nothing happening, half an hour, 1 week is very important. You start there. I think a lot of people are often like, I'm just too exhausted to go on a date night. So you've got to then look at that. Where are the things that can change so that you can have a date night? What needs to happen to get a date night? Which if that means, okay, you look at the whole schedule, someone, your partner comes home early, or a mother-in-law or a mother or a friend comes over
yeah,
and you do swaps. So you get together with a friend. It's like, okay, your relationship has date night or has, date day on a Sunday afternoon. I actually had a client do this in England where they did swap. So in the morning, the couple looked after their neighbors or their friends' children so that that couple had their 3 hour sex date. And in the afternoon at lunch, then they all had lunch together. And of course, the couple that's just had the sex date are like, they're so now juiced up to look after the kids because they're well fucked and they've connected. So then that in the afternoon, they took the kids. So this other couple could have their sex date, their intimacy date. When I say sex, what is sex? Sex is how we satiate our desires. You can have a sex date that
right.
for 3 hours you're just touching and doing like and there's all of this, like there's no penetration but there's so much orgasmic bliss.
Yeah.
So this is becoming very creative. uh when we a man that's coming home from work, when his partner's been breastfeeding and picking up toys and the child's not sleeping, to walk home and go straight in and run a bath, picking up the child, run the bath, and put your woman in that. Because trying to have big discussions, and men even know this, is like when a man comes home from work, if the woman's trying to, this space of like coming into the house for both parties
Mhm,
needs to really be worked out so it looks after both. Like for the woman to go and sit in the bath or just be placed in the shower where her man has
mhm,
required that she's in the shower, massage, your pleasure is your responsibility. The warm water, using soap that you love, touching your body so that you're raising oxytocin, massage your breasts so that you are detoxifying your body from oxytocin. Like all of these things, that practices that are actually designed to support the neural pathways of pleasure and detoxify your body. Then the man's also, he's got the baby in his arm or the toddler in his arm, whether he takes the baby to the park, on the bike, whatever, where he's moving. And also his system is like coming to the place of, where he can be in front of his woman after a day of work, like the space of no, I'm not saying that having children is a space of no demand, but there's ways that he can just hang out with his kid, even if he's watching TV with his kid. Like it's also too, I think sometimes we need to let go of it. I mean, and I'm saying this from experience, I had very strong values about raising my kid, co-sleeping, which was amazing. But I did have to look at some things. We're raising children in isolated scenarios. We're not in community. So it's working with each couple. It's for the couple to have really honest conversations. And it's like, even if the woman gets a 45-minute break just to really brush her hair, to like rub her skin, to sit in the bath, and the husband brings in a glass of wine or a cup of tea. And even if she's in the bathtub, having a glass of wine while he's at, and then talk about, the date night, or talk about something happening. But the woman's system needs to be able to drop. I say to women who are coming home from work, coming into the house, like at the traffic lights, massage your breasts. Go into a bathroom and like just move your hips and do some breath work, or go out and ground, put your feet on the ground. These are increment moments that just bring spaciousness. But if you're not going to place your relationship in the center, it will not be there. And I tell you
like
what,
basically having an empty cup.
having an empty
Can't
cup.
give from an empty cup, unfortunately.
Yeah. And it's also, there's a word called relationship anarchy, which is around the different types of relationships. But I really love using that analogy. It's like, you really need to bring some anarchy and the energy of a revolution into your relationship. Because like, we're here, this house exists because of us. I get to come home to you and a child because of us. Yeah. We get to have this life insurance policy because we are together. Everything is because we are in a relationship. So if you're not going to put that in the center, everything disintegrates. So you have to have this sort of anarchy attitude of like, no, I'm not helping on that Zoom call tonight. This is my time with my partner. And you find someone else that needs it. It doesn't, and I know that we're all being really stretched monetary wise, the way that the world is, the way this production thing is. So you find solutions.
Yeah.
You find solutions.
So this brings me to a question. How can partners create a safe space, for example, for discussing their sexual desires and boundaries?
I love this question. And yes, it's so important, this safety. So it is with intention. And often too, I mean, when I work with clients, it's really intriguing to me the amount of times that I hear and experience in my coaching containers, clients that will tell me things that they've never told their partner, or they have an assumption. So I'm going to get to like this safety part and belonging in a moment. But the assumption that our partner's going to think us weird if we ask for that. So we also have to look at that, first of all.
It's
like
the fear. I think we
fear.
have that fear of, opening up and communicating, because we're always afraid that, hey, maybe she or he might not like it and they leave us. So we have that, it's like building those walls in front of us.
And how we build walls within intimacy, like we're willing to, this is debunking our own mind. The reason I'm speaking this way is because it's about debunking your own mind. If you have a mortgage and you have gone through birth and you have names on vehicles and all of this stuff, with these huge life decisions, but you're over here afraid that if you ask to be tied up, or you're afraid of asking, I want to spend more time with you, I need a date night, that is really fearful. I invite you to debunk your mind that having a mortgage is fucking fearful. Because you can lose your life from it if you sell. Do you know what I mean? Like when we're looking at single parenting. So absolutely. I'm saying debunk your mind that, do you know what, if you have signed a mortgage and you have like birthed a human from this person through your body, then asking them about being isn't is bring
It's
that
not
back.
that bad.
It's not that bad. But I understand how nervousness it is, because we also have to get really honest with ourselves that we're in relationship often with assumptions. We're assuming our partner's going to. So it's also, how much do we create in our own minds? So this brings me to the thing of safety, which you so beautifully asked. We need to understand that our primal brain is only geared to three things, and happiness is not one of them. For a human to survive, it does not need happiness. It needs acceptance, which is love. Am I loved? If I'm loved and I'm accepted, therefore I belong, belonging in the relationship. So if I know that my partner loves me, I belong here. Now, if I belong here, I'm safe. And what safety means is I'm not going to die. So if I belong, we're going to be in this home every single day, the children are going to be safe. We're not going to die. So we've got to, those three things need to be looked after. So to come into a space of safety to share with your partner, you don't do it in a car when you're like, 15 minutes away of getting to a dinner with other people. Do not, like, so many people leave it to those moments. Okay, we're in the car. I've got you. We're driving to somewhere and we're late. Do you know what? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's because we bring it up when we can go into battle, so we can prove that we're not looked after. So you do have to create the space. You do have to find the space of 20 minutes, half an hour. And if you do not have 20 minutes, half an hour for your relationship, you have to look at that. But anyway, so you do create that space. And you've got to come into this space. So if I'm working with a man, I'm going to give you some gorgeous, glorious coaching here. If I'm working with a man, it's like, create the space. Make it beautiful so that when your woman walks in, she's relaxed. Make sure it's fucking tidy. Put beautiful cushions there. Put a beautiful rug on the floor. Get some candles. Make a cup of tea or pour a glass of wine. So when your woman walks in, she's been taken. You are showing that the relationship and her nervous system matters. You're showing that you're thinking of her. So what I try to, I think one of the most powerful things to implore to a man, if your woman felt thought of, it opens her legs. like seriously, not in the moment, but it could in the moment,
Of
but it's
course,
actually
it
really.
makes you feel
I mean,
wanted.
look how
Like,
your
hey,
whole body.
take me. Yeah,
Look, both of us, like, you're touching your hair, your whole body just opened then.
of
So for a
course.
man, it's like, you want to open her legs, open her heart. You cannot do
Yeah,
it the opposite way.
yeah.
So create the space, sit down, and not talk for the first minute or two. Eye gaze. This is, that's what I wanted to say, and this pertains to this. The Western world is very good at dissecting and proving to us how the world works scientifically, mathematics.
Yeah.
This is it. The Western world is great at that. The Eastern world is exquisite and incredibly powerful at showing us how we experience our world.
Mm.
So that is where Tantra comes from. That is where Taoist comes from. That is where breathwork comes from. That is where all of these practices come from. So how we experience the world. So it may seem a little bit woo-woo, and it may seem a little bit like, oh, do I have to do this? But when you sit in front, like people who haven't, that are very production mode in the Western world, when you sit in front of your partner and you just breathe together and you eye gaze. Now, a lot of people find it difficult to eye gaze, and I always bring it, so you've signed your life away monetary-wise, but you won't sit and look at your partner in the eye and breathe. So start decolonizing your mind about this. This person married you. This person had a baby with you. This person lives under the same house with you. Look into their eyes.
I
They've
love
said
it.
yes to all of these huge things. But because we're so conditioned that we're going to be judged, this is very difficult to begin with. And I get it. You might giggle, you might even cry, but once you have that vulnerability with your partner, then you're creating more. This creates safety. This is safety. Safety is not just from, a hurricane or from the raging
Yeah.
fire or from the wild animal. Safety is
Yeah.
within our hearts. So when you sit across from one another, the lights are low, he's got you. It's like, babe, I've got it. The child's in, like, I've got it. The child's in. I've set them up with food. I've set them up with a movie. I've got it. I've got you. So the woman's like, oh, okay. Sitting in front. And so you breathe for a moment, 5 minutes, set a timer. And you
Mm.
always start off. You always start off with the love, with the acceptance.
Mm.
So just for a moment, I'm going to bring you to the other way. If you go to a couples therapist, you walk into an office,
Yeah.
2 chairs and the desk. And what happens in talk therapy a lot, the therapist will ask, and this is not, I just want you to get an understanding of how this shows up in the nervous system. But often what happens is, okay, tell me what's going on. So straight, one partner will start and they'll start with everything that's wrong. That
Mm.
creates flight. I'm getting the
It's
fuck
the
out of here.
attack. Yeah.
It's the attack, because now you've got to counter, even though
Mm.
it's truth, even though it's like that is their experience. You're starting off in fight and flight. So
Right.
this creates the
And then
opposite.
you get defensive, and then you start, kind of bark back and be like, no, but this is not, and this is how you did it, and this is, yeah.
Yes. So now we're in a
Mm.
session in therapy of fight and flight,
Mhm.
which is back and forth. And oh my God, I've had those, like
Yeah,
sometimes when
your
we're
cortisol is
and they're
up, your
off.
nervous system is up, and you're not thinking straight.
Mm.
Yeah,
And it's
it's the
painful because you're
blame
there.
game.
Yeah. And you're there. The reality of being there is the commitment to find a solution. And yet now you're in fight and flight. So this is why this works so well. You sit in front of it and you start off with love. So you share the things that you love about each other.
Mhm.
And like to hear that. And you may think, oh, my partner knows that. Don't ever make assumptions. And even if they do know that you love how they cook your favorite meal on Wednesday nights, say it
Mhm.
again. Whatever it is, even if they love how they, whatever it is. So you share love. And then you can share fears. After you've
Mhm.
shared love, you can share, yeah, I'm actually really nervous to tell the truth now. I'm really nervous to let you know. I'm nervous about asking you this question.
Mhm.
I'm nervous that I'm afraid or concerned if we keep going on the way that we're going, that our relationship may fall apart. And I don't want that. Sometimes
Mhm.
just hearing that from your partner is like, oh, so we're knitting this fabric that creates a connection. So once you've shared with each other the loves, you know that you're loved, and then sharing the things that you're afraid of, then you share now the truth. I would like more of this. I
Mhm.
really need this from you. I need this. I need more connection. I need to explore outside of what we're already doing in sex. I love you
Mhm.
and I want to explore more with you. Because that's often too
Mhm.
what partners can make the assumption that if their partner comes to them, and I've heard it so often, God, I have to watch my system sometimes too. If a lover comes and says, "Oh my God, well, like I want to do a threesome," where does my brain go? And I'm not saying that all partners are wanting to do this. I'm just thinking about what's been recent in my
Right.
life. My brain go, "Oh, am I not enough?" And I get to giggle. My brain is telling me that because this man that's so into me and he wants to have this experience, that means he's not. So I get to say and I get to giggle. My brain's telling me like, Melissa, no. Like, look, it's like, and then it's also too, we get to, it's like, wow, how
Yeah.
interesting
Yeah.
that, and then we get truthful. It's like, wow, that brings to me, maybe the partner's going, I want to learn Shibari. I want to be tied up with by you. Now, a
Mhm.
man, I've worked with men who where that like they've come and they're afraid of not being able to do it right. So when I've worked with a couple that have been in this situation where the female partner wants to be tied up, she wants to let go. She
Mm.
wants to like have her man have more control in these situations. So, and he wouldn't talk about it. Boom, 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 like shut down as if
Right.
she, and she's like, I brought it up to him so many times. He acts as if, and I said, are you curious? Like, ask him what it brings up in him. Like, have you been curious? Like, the conversation stopped straight away. Once she created a container and she shared with him what it meant to her, what came out was he was so concerned that he wouldn't get it right and he would be a failure and therefore he wouldn't be man enough in her life.
Mm.
Once she heard that from him, her, of course, the heart melts. And it's like, oh my God, baby. Like,
Mm.
I have never done it before and I want to explore this with you. And why don't we make a commit? Would you be willing to make a commitment to going to workshops once a week for
Mhm.
6 weeks. And at the end of those 6 weeks, let's assess if it's something that you can continue. And also, too, because, when we're looking at practices like that, she really wanted it. Was he willing to do 6 weeks or 2 months worth of workshops? Yes. If he got to the end of those workshops, this is another thing to understand in relationship. If he got to the end of those workshops and it wasn't his thing and he didn't want to do it, there was going to be a conversation of like, would he be willing for her to still go to the workshops and still be tied up by other participants, fully clothed where it's not sexual, but she got to feel this
Mm.
containment?
Mm.
Was that possible? Or would he be willing to continue because he knew it turned her on, even if it wasn't his turn on? These are the other things when we look at, I'm only going to do what I want to do.
Mhm.
That doesn't work in business. It doesn't work on the soccer field.
Yeah.
If you're a team, you need to like run center sometimes, or you need to be goalie sometimes to support the team.
Mhm.
So sometimes in relationships, it's really important that you do take part in what your partner wants to do, as long as it's not crossing your integrity, it's not crossing boundaries of safety, all of that stuff. Like, of course, I'm not saying you have to do a threesome just because your partner wants, but you've got a huge shutdown to it.
Right.
But if we're looking at
Exactly.
normal, what I say normal, if we're looking at low, low lying fruits, things that don't
Yeah.
hold huge things, doing rope tying classes, your partner,
But
you
this
get the,
again comes down to a full on communication,
mm-hmm,
um,
mm-hmm,
where you stay open and you have these discussions. And
mm-hmm,
again, one partner can say, no, I'm not into it. So this will bring me to the question, let's say the two couples are, having the discussion and one person is completely like, nope, nope, can't do it. And the other person says, but what about if I want to go out and I want to explore, you know? Um,
mm-hmm.
what's your
Yeah.
intake on that?
Yeah. So when we're looking at what is a really true desire for someone
Hmm.
and what is a shutdown for the other. So there are places for a hard no. When I'm looking, when we get really into some really big things, there are places for a hard no.
Hmm.
If your partner's a hard no to something, let's say a threesome, let's say to some other really deep, this is a beautiful thing around the kink blueprint, because a
Hmm.
lot of people are shamed by the kink blueprint, and kink is anything that's not normal to you. So
Hmm.
if there is a hard no and you've received a hard no from your partner, and then you're sitting with that, and it's like, if you were to go and get that, if you were to go and take part in that, would it disintegrate your relationship? So there are things of like, this is something that I will fantasize for about the rest of my life,
Hmm.
because if I was to do it, it's not worth losing my relationship. And it's also understanding that a hard no now may in a couple of years turn into curiosity,
Right.
especially when we've got a relationship that's in the space of there hasn't been much intimacy. These are all the two. What could the hard no be coming from? If there
Hmm.
hasn't been, I always say this to my clients, like, okay, you haven't been having much intimacy. You haven't had good sex for 8, 9 months. You haven't been away on a holiday together, and you're going to go to her and ask for a threesome. Buddy, it's going to be a fucking hard no. Like, seriously, or even
Shut
her.
the door.
It's like, but God, I want to spice up our sex life. It's like, okay, but if you're together forever, the spiciness can
Yeah.
come in a year's time. How about building connection and intimacy in your
Right.
sexual currency first? So there's
Right.
many, many factors to this. The other thing is, there's a beautiful way to frame things. This is not about manipulation.
Hmm.
There's a beautiful way to frame things. Say, let's just keep to the Shibari because it's still only, your partner together.
Hmm.
Say you go to your partner and you do want to learn a bit more around dominance and submission, or you want to learn the art of this Japanese rope tying, and you bring it to your partner. You share with them, hey, babe, there's something that I've always wanted to explore. And I would love to explore it in our relationship. I so trust us. I trust you, and I want to explore this with you. This means a lot to me. And it is this, da 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 da. Then
Hmm.
you say, what would you need from me to consider that? I mean, that question is so different to like, I want to do this, are you up for it? So then
Right.
the person who's never heard it, they go, what is that? Or they like, and they could go, okay, what I would need, I need a week to think about it. Okay.
Hmm.
So then it's like, okay, so next Monday, and then they can go, I need to have more information on it. So then they get more information. I would like to talk I would like to find out why from you. Not why would you want to do this? I want to find out why from you. So now we have a conversation that's going back and forth where there's the relationship's not on the tinkering of ending. You're having a conversation. And so it can even take, I've worked with couples before where they've spent 3 months leaning into a desire, making sure both parties get what both they need to come to the point to start discovering it. Because also we have this thing around intimacy and sex that if it doesn't happen now and if I don't get it, it's like, but it can take, just like anything, business, it can take
Right.
3 months
It
to
takes
build something.
time, it takes patience,
Time.
it takes caring and nourishing to get to that point.
To get to that
Yeah.
point. And so when we're having intimacy dates, and what could come back to, here's one partner bringing a desire to the partner, and the partner's going, well, great, but we don't even have sex. And now you're bringing this. It's like, okay, so what I'm hearing from you is you need more connection. We need more sex. And it's like, yeah, can we just have more sex first? Can we have sex dates? Can we have all of this stuff? And let's discuss this in 3 months. It's very, for someone receiving something like that. I mean, I've been in that position where I've had a partner, they're like, oh, we need to do, and I'm like, you know what, honey, we haven't even had sex in a couple of weeks. And so I can't, my system is firing off right now because we haven't even had sex. And now you want to do this thing. I hear you. It's valid. We just fuck a lot for the next week and then can I discuss it with you? It's like, yeah, sure. Okay. It's about getting really honest of what's going on here.
Yeah.
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 So it's not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's asking, what do you need from me to consider that? And it's even going, I would like to do this. And I've got podcasts, I've got information. I've noticed that in the next city, because some people too, it's like if they live in a small town, it's like, I don't want to be doing that in a small town. Awesome. There's some workshops in the next city. Once a month, let's get a babysitter and let's drive to the next city and do the workshops on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yum. 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 Yum.
Yeah. So this will bring me of this hotty, juicy partnership, communication and relationship, having more sex. What is your perspective on cheating? Because I think that's a big one here too, right now, especially with men. I mean, women do it too, but I think this also brings us back into the religious cultural myths that goes around sexuality, that women, were homemakers, they were staying home with babies, where men would go travel and they would have these luscious relationships, one night stands or whatever. What's your take on that?
Oh, there's so many things to unpack here. And I truly appreciate this question because I know there's so much pain and grief in our culture, in relationships around this topic.
Yeah.
I absolutely love what Esther Perel says about infidelity. And even the concept of infidelity is interesting. Infidelity is not about not liking the person you're with. It's not liking who you are in the relationship anymore. So that word anymore. Cheating is not about you don't like your partner anymore. It's about you don't like who you are in the relationship anymore. So cheating is a result. Unless you've partnered and you've married with someone who's always been, but that's about them. It's not about you. If they're in this realm of not being truthful. Often, there's so many things. When we're looking at the result of cheating, it hasn't just happened. What has been happening in the relationship up to that? Let's go for, because it's also really interesting how we believe that men cheat. Women actually, I think there's even statistics that show that more women cheat on their men than men do. But if it's not more, it's very equal.
Yeah.
It's very equal because we are so insatiable, and women's, we're conditioned to believe that our sex drives are lower. They're not. No, especially once we stop bleeding, especially when we're in regenopause, they just get more and more and more.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness. So it takes a lot of courage to be sitting with a result and to get really radically honest of how the disintegration of the relationship has been occurring through emasculation, rejection. There's no sexual currency. When I say sexual currency, there's no touch points where there's sweetness, where having 3 or 4 children has now taken over the relationship instead of being in a relationship with, with less. I mean, and I say this openly, and I don't mean this as thing, but often when we look at the amount of children in a relationship and wondering why the relationship is not where it's like there's so many people in the house for 2 people to raise. So if you are going to have 3 to 4 children, how are you maintaining what are you doing? Smaller house, more, not as a luxurious car, and having a nanny or having a babysitter or having a support system set up so that you do. It's like, those children were born from sex somehow, so like, what do you do if you are going to make decisions to have more children, to fill up a home with just 2 people? It's like, you can't let go of the relationship in that. So it's also being really radical about these decisions that we're making around our relationship within family. So when we're looking at not if an affair, like something that's ongoing, has occurred, we have to look at how has that happened? Where haven't we placed? So it's about dissecting that. Yes, it's painful. And one thing I also want to bring to light too is what we receive as judgment. If we are in a relationship where infidelity has showed up, I'm going to come to that too. Infidelity has occurred. There's a societal pressure that you've got to fuck them off. So often, I know of women who haven't told their friends and they've suffered in silence because they've decided to stay with their partner and they're too concerned about what their friends will say, family will say, what society, their neighborhood, their community will say to them by staying with their partner. As if like, well, how can you stay with him? He cheated on you. And it's like, but hang on a minute. And I'm just bringing certain scenarios. This is not all of the time. When we look at how women emasculate men, how how we put men down for wanting to have sex with us because you just want to have sex with me. Is that men have sex to connect when women need to connect to have sex.
Right.
So where there's a lot of rejection, and instead of working it out, instead of getting, people will get a business coach, they will get a personal trainer, but they won't get a relationship coach. And they'll expect themselves to be able to do relationship well whilst they're in the gym with their trainer and whilst they're with their business coach, but they're not we don't get taught how to do relationships. So it's also being really radically honest of how has it got to that point. Now, if it does get to that point and you decide like, wow, for some people, I know I've been on calls with, couples and where women are saying, this was my fucking wake up call. It's so painful. And yes, I go to sleep, closing my eyes, thinking about him with her. But I have to be honest with myself. For the last 4 years, I haven't, every time he goes to touch, and say every time, but many times he goes to touch, I haven't cooked his favorite. I haven't made time. I've allowed this to happen. And it's also, I'm not saying it's all her fault. Then the man has to be honest. Where have you not been really radically protective of your time with your partner? Where have you said yes to another business meeting when you're meant to be on a date night? Where have you allowed business to take over? Where haven't you helped with the children? Where have you walked into the house for the last 3, 4, 5 years and just expected your woman to do all of these things? Where have you not? You haven't taken it. The first thing I ask men is when they say, well, when was you found time to be in a hotel room with your lover? When did you last take your woman away for a big sexy weekend and lock yourselves up in a hotel? When did you do that for your partner? Oh, I didn't. So
So
it's
there
like
is a deeper underlying issue.
The deep issues of like being radically responsible for the maintenance, the nurturing, and the curiosity of the relationship that you're in. And there's such bigger subjects around how we're required to be in relationship in isolation and raise families in isolation and all of these things. And how we're not placing sex in the middle. And we will, it's also, the quintessential part of like how you feel so alive in an affair, because that aliveness has been lost in your relationship.
Your own relationship, yeah.
And so bringing
Can a relationship be saved?
Oh, yeah.
even going through
Yeah.
infidelity.
Of
Yeah.
course, it takes time. It does take time. It takes radical honesty. It takes really being truly responsible for your part. It's being 100, but this is all in life, being 100% responsible for your part in it. Even if your part is 30%, we're 100% responsible for that 30%. The one who has created the hurt, so the one who
Mhm.
has had the affair, is needs to truly be, it takes a lot of courage, but they need to truly be in the face of that hurt and rupture that
Mhm.
they've created, and allowing the person that's going through that grief, really allowing that and doing everything that you possibly can to be there for that grief. But once two people have made the decision, sometimes it takes a couple of months to make that decision.
Mhm.
Are you going to stay together? What is your part in this? What are you unpacking in this?
Mhm.
And then once you've made that decision, it's like, yes, it's like, I want to spend 6 months. We need to be in separate rooms, but it's still having, okay, what are we doing through this 6 months where we're not completely shunning each other, but we're going to make decisions over the next 6 months, 1 month, to whatever it is, whatever
Mhm.
time frame it is. But it's taking things step by step. And it's not easy because we're looking at a culture that really vilifies that, but we're not. But that same culture doesn't place relationships in the center; it places business in
Right.
the center.
Right.
Like it's really, we really have to be. We really
Yeah.
have to look at the wider spectrum of that. But yeah, it's a great topic.
So I know a couple people that don't sleep in the same rooms.
Mhm.
Is that something that's new out there? Because I couldn't do that. I couldn't
Mm.
sleep in the, even though my husband snores, I'll put pillow over my head and I'm like, okay, I'm not leaving. Is that something normal in
It's
today's
so
world?
interesting, isn't it? So
It's
normal.
very, I'm like, how? Why?
Well, number one, it's your relationship, your rules. And that's one thing we seem to forget. We walk into a
True.
church and sign a piece of paper that someone else has made these rules up. We never made them up, but we're going to say yes to them.
So it depends
Okay.
on what people want and how they want it.
So we have to work out what works for us. For people that
Mhm.
are, there's two thoughts of this. Like I get into the science of a lot of things as well, the science of our brain, the
Mhm.
science of our nervous system, all of this stuff. There is science out there speaking about, couples that don't sleep together, talking you need to sleep together to have this tactileness, to have this coming together, nervous systems
Mhm.
regulating together. Yet, when we're looking at what is missing is the missing in our
Mhm.
in our current structure of relationship. There isn't enough time to miss each other, and our time together is filled up with family, children, business. What's going wrong?
Mhm.
It's like we've got 7 days supposedly on the sun calendar in a week. We have
Mhm.
5 to 6 days of those at work in our current cultures. And it's like, so we're devoting all of this time within the relationship, two people walking next to each other, to everything else and not the relationship. So
Mhm.
then sleeping together for some people is really the only. So what are we doing if you are sleeping together? How are you sleeping together? How do you wake up?
Mhm.
Does that work for you? If we're in a lot of stress and cortisol and we're exhausted, and then you're sleeping next to your partner and you're not getting a good night's sleep, so then like 20 years down the track, your libido is so shot because you don't get enough rest. So if you need to sleep separate from your partner half of the week, 2 nights of the week, all the time so you can sleep. But when you wake up in the morning, you
Mhm.
crawl into their bed with them and like you're under the sheets and you wake them up with
Mhm.
some gorgeous fellatio because you've had like 10 hours or you've had 8 hours of sleep and you've
Yep.
woken up at
You
5 and
slept
you've
well. That's
meditated
it.
and you've
Yep.
massaged your breasts and you've done your dance and you've done your little workout. And then so now it's like 6:30 and you're like, baby, fucking give it to me. Do you know what I mean? Like this, like, yeah, it's like, why would you not, if that's what works for you? And this
Yeah.
is also to curiosity and information. A lot of
Mhm.
people are like, oh my God, if I don't sleep with my partner, then we're going to be disconnected. And it's like, well, if the only time you're connecting is sleeping, like what's happening?
Mhm.
What are you not doing during the day? And it's finding the way. So if someone realizes that they have so much more energy and that their morning practice is really important to them, which makes them more available. And it's also too is one person that needs that separateness and maybe the other person is like, okay, I understand, then what do they need? It's like, I'm very happy for you. Let's give this a go for 3 months or 2 months. You sleep in another room, but I would like to receive a fellatio to wake me up 3 mornings of the week. Now, look, if
Right.
that's what your partner needs, so you get what you want, you make okay, God, before I do that, I need to be out. Okay, go to bed at freaking 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, get up at 5, do your meditation, do your little workout, and then go and surprise your partner. And then start to
Mm,
see what happens in your relationship. You know, I know
mm,
for me, and I've, it's difficult for people to hear, but
mhm,
for me to go into a full-time relationship now after having different lovers, after raising my child on my own, or like I'm
mhm,
like, wow, I need my own space in the bed. But
mhm,
I'm very happy to work with someone that, like, what do you need to give that to me? Like
mhm.
having, so yeah, we need to find out what works for us. It's our relationship, our rules.
Yeah, I love it. I love that
Mm,
because it is so important. It's
mm.
on individual levels. It's not what's written in the book. It's not what the church told us or the society told us. It's what works for you best. Yeah, I
I
love
think
it.
it comes back to that judgment part. It's like, oh my God, if
Mhm.
people if you're married and you sleep in separate rooms, it's like it's no one's fucking business how you
Right.
guys relate with one another. And also, coming back to what's missing is the missing. We don't have the chance to miss each other. So that's also what happens with our hormones when we're with our
Mm,
partners all the time. The love hormones are there, and that's safety, and safety doesn't build eroticism. Like Esther Perel talks about this all the time. So then if you're sleeping apart, like if you think about when you first met, you're living in different apartments, different houses, like your loins are fucking pulling them in. You're like,
yeah.
oh my God, I want to see you tonight. My God. It's like, so just like you're recreating that's how I've heard couples talk about it. It's how they recreate the eroticism. They're not
Yeah.
sleeping with each other. They get up in the morning and their partner's already gone on their run and their work, and they're like, fuck, babe, when are you coming home? Like, be home by 5 p.m. Because I tell you what, when you walk in that door, I'm taking your pants off.
I'm like,
Because
that's
like,
it.
sure you are. I will be home at 5 to 5.
Don't be late.
It's like, be like sweetheart, and it's over.
Oh my goodness.
Mm,
So how could you introduce, for example, an education, a course, or coaching about sexuality to empower individuals, especially us women? Because you work with both men and women, right? But let's just focus on women here for
yeah,
now.
sure.
Um, so what kind of coaching would you give women to level
Mm,
up to the next level? Like again, get rid of the fear, the
yeah.
blockages, and everything
Mhm.
that they have
Mm.
to break free.
So when I work with clients, I work with a minimum of 4 months. So it's 4 to 6 months, so that
Okay.
we have this beautiful thing. Like we check in every, look, not check in, we have coaching calls every week that are like 2 hours long, 1.5 to 2 hours long, so that we have
Mhm.
this beautiful space that we're dropping in. So, and it's tethered to each client's personal needs. I have a program that they all get put in.
Mhm.
So they get all of the information that all of my clients get, so all of the different videos. But it really starts with, especially someone who's very separate from their body, women that come to me who haven't had orgasms or are not getting the sex that they want anymore from their partner, and they feel really separate, and they feel like they're not seen by their partner, or they don't know how to go to their partner. We start with step by step. So learning how to create really beautiful communication containers. But also, a huge part of my work, this two-tiered part of where reading certain books, some of my teachers that just changed my life, learning
Mhm.
how to speak towards the masculine, how to operate with the masculine. This is not manipulation, but learning the ways of the masculine, because I always
It's the
tried to tell
language.
the
Mhm.
language of the masculine. So I work
Mhm.
with Alison Armstrong's work in that, so that you can change the way that you're speaking to your partner, how you create invitations to your partner, so that they can rise and they start like showing up for you in ways. Like, it's profound how quickly it can work just by how we change words. So we're
Mhm.
speaking to them, and also being really clear about our boundaries of what we need from them. And also educating women around their body, around the different types of orgasm. We have 4 different gateways of orgasm, around
Mhm.
really holding that boundary of how long it takes before we receive penetration, and how
Mhm.
to really share that, and also how to self pleasure. Because if we
Mhm.
cannot, it's it's kind of it's an oxymoron to believe that someone like that, our partner is going to give us our pleasure. We are responsible for our own pleasure. Our body is,
Mm,
we need to be sovereign, and we need to be really powerful in taking care of our body and our orgasmic state, so that when our partner comes to us, we can share with them how, and they can also, rise up to it. So often we haven't even cultivated these practices for ourselves, and we're even unsure of, like, it's like, oh, like, how our orgasms unfold for ourselves. And if we're only ever having pleasure and orgasms by someone else, then we're also, the word I was looking for, responsibility. We're placing the responsibility on them, which means we're handing our experience over to the other all the time. So it's
mm,
really debunking that, and sort of, I love my new word, decolonizing all of that. It's like really becoming self-responsibility, which is really exquisite. I'm an
mm,
accelerated evolution coach. So when we're thinking of, like even speaking about this, like we was like, I was like, oh God, self-pleasure. Oh my God, I don't, the
mm,
contraction, or where the trauma is held, or where the shutdown, where the charge of doing something like that is held in your body. So I work with accelerated evolution processing to remove that charge. That's not talk therapy. So there are a set of processes,
mm,
depends what we're working with, when we're looking at shame, when we're looking at guilt, when we're looking at past experiences. So I work with those processes to remove that charge from the body so that we have freedom. So there's a lot of education, which is a lot of
mm,
fun. Um, it's very indicative, even though I have this program that all women get put in, it's indicative of where she's at and what she wants to, where she wants to be. So we work
mm,
step by step week. So I Taoist, tantric, the erotic blueprints, modern day teachings and conversations, invitations for your partner.
mm,
With the one thing that I find really powerful, even if I'm working with a woman and she's in partnership, one of the very first calls as a bonus call is to bring her partner on the call, and I take them through the communication container that's going to be really powerful support, like through our whole coaching and then onwards, so that it gets done. Because I tell you what, if you give, of course, too, it's like if there is a little bit of nervousness of, or, a bit of unsureness of bringing your partner into a communication container, it's left to debate. We kind of leave it. So I have
mm,
this, thing where we get the partner on a call, which is really beautiful. So here on this call, I shared the love, fears, and desires, which is the tantric way. The accelerated evolution is, when I say stronger, it really works with the primal brain,
mm,
and so that way they get to experience it. That way, I've been on calls with people that have been married for 8 years, and in that 1 hour, they're telling each other things they've never told each other, and it
wow.
just changes. It's just, I mean, I often have like, it's just so beautiful, but watching, and then where the woman gets to experience her man going, "Are you serious? Like, of course I would do that for you," or like, "I never knew that about you, and I never knew that what was going on," and it's so
Yeah.
beautiful. It's really bringing safety into the
Yep.
nervous system to explore. It's
That's it. I think that's what it is. And again, that again for the third time, it's going to bring it into that communication,
mm-hmm.
feeling safe and being seen by your
Yeah,
partner, you know?
yeah,
So
and
I love
being
that.
that there's a beautiful saying around sex, and that is, sex is not an act that we do.
Mm,
Sex is a place that we go to, where
mm,
we bring our vulnerability, where we bring our courage, our disappointment, our grief, our fear, our sadness, and our desire, and our joy, and our happiness, and our curiosity. It's that place where everything is welcome.
mm,
Everything is welcome. And often, over and over, and I see it all the time, where I'll begin working with clients and they have this thing, "I want to have an experience orgasm," or "I want to have this with my partner. Like, I want to have sex like we were having to," and we'll get 3, 4 weeks in, 5 weeks in, and they'll get over, "Oh, I've had the best fucking sex. And we haven't even talked about sex." I'm like, "Yeah, because it's not to do with," and now let's talk about different ways to do sex. But it's not, the act of sex is more to do with our courage and our vulnerability. So as we're working and we're
mm,
unpeeling those layers, suddenly you're having
mm,
great sex, even though we haven't talked about it. So
mm.
it's really beautiful.
What advice would you give to someone who has experienced shame or trauma
Hmm.
related to their sexuality?
Yeah. This is, I mean, the advice would be is to find somewhere where you can start working through that.
Mm.
Because now that, especially if that trauma has occurred via someone else, they're controlling your, like that incident and that trauma and that shame is uh, dictating
Mm.
your life experience. And it takes so much courage to look at that and really be able to work through the places when where you're back in this where you're steering your life again, or you're opening your life in this way that isn't indicative of what something happened before. And it's very often too women and men that are in that place of believing that it's just them, and it is so common. It is so common. And the
Mm.
grief for me often is when I'm hearing people, I'm in front of people that are believing that they've been living in this on their own. They've been feeling so isolated and just going, it is everywhere. Like the
Mm.
majority of people hold shame and guilt. So so finding the places to have the courage to work through it and into a place where you feel safe so that you can work through it. And there is a way through. All of this is energy in the body. So it's held in our myofascia, like in our nervous system, and it can be cleared. You can shift. It's not something that needs to be dictating or controlling all of your experiences.
Mm.
And it's about making that decision that you are going to move through that you're going to actually find a way to move through that.
This is
Because you're,
something that you said is finding the right person
yeah, yeah,
to have these conversations and open up, because I think this is, it's like baby steps.
yeah.
If you want to heal, you need to start somewhere. So a
That's right.
person like yourself would come in and would definitely help break
And
that
also,
ground.
too, I've had clients that have come to me and I'm like, I'm not the person for this, but I do
Yeah.
know someone.
How do you see the conversation or conversations around sexuality evolving in the next year or few years?
Oh, what a great question. Oh my goodness.
Mm.
Well, in my world, I mean, it's kind of interesting. So, because you've asked this question this way, I do want to bring light that what is happening up north, in North, because I live in Mexico, in North America, where there is a lot of systemic attitudes coming back to really diminish
Mhm.
women's opportunities and rights because of how powerful it is. So, how I see it over the next few years is we have to really take radical responsibility for understanding how important it is, because also our divorce rates are like getting past 50%. And
Mhm.
then when we're looking at, and all relationships end, whether it's by death or whether it's by separation.
Right.
But when we're looking at and I say trauma, but if we look at the catastrophe that many divorces create in families, in wealth, in the separating of children and all of that, and then of course we're all exhausted because we're co-parenting as single parents and all of that stuff. If we're looking at that, that is the result by not having these really good conversations, and we truly need to be really radical, really courageous about speaking about how important our intimacy, our relationships are. And I truly know that if we're to place, as we were saying before, like relationship coaching or sex coaching in the same importance as business and personal training in the gym and health coaching, because this is our health. When we
Mhm.
understand that our orgasmic state actually means we don't need the pharmacies as much, which is awesome. And also
Yeah.
too, when we're looking at women's menstruation, all of this stuff, the more and better sex that we have, when we say better sex, like really deep, the deep surrender and release of our orgasmic states way beyond the clitoris, then the
Mhm.
woman's health is a hell of a lot better. It's what we need. So therefore the family's happier. And then it's like your finances are happier because you're not
Yeah.
spending so much,
No,
all
you're
of that
right.
stuff. So
You're
yeah.
right. It's like with finances. No, like at school, they don't teach you. They teach you the basics. And it's
Mhm.
like with sexuality in school in grade, I think it's grade 4, grade 5, they teach you the basic
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yet
Mhm.
parents don't have these conversations with these kids because they're like, well, school's talking to them. We don't have to talk about it. So
So
And
yeah,
it's
so it's
important too, as
mm,
parents, to have these conversations with the
yeah.
kids.
Oh my goodness, yes, because otherwise we're always dealing. It's like we're dealing with the outfall. We're
Mhm.
dealing with. It's like also debunking the shame around
Yeah.
infections. They used to be called diseases, sexually transmitted diseases. They're not diseases. They're infections. Like
Mhm.
really changing our language and really questioning our response and our judgment towards the one thing that got us here.
Mhm.
Like I love bringing a lot of humor to it. It's like the one thing that got us here, we won't speak about on a cultural, narrative. But
Mhm.
it's the only thing that got us here. We did not get dropped off by the stork. Newsflash. You weren't found by the river on a leaf.
What? Really?
Sorry.
Oh
Look at that. Wow. So really, having the courage to really bring that in, because it's like, this is our birthright. We are born erotic beings.
no.
And then the
Mhm.
moment we are born, the system makes sure that we're separate from it
Mhm.
so that it can be to understand our separation from our power and our sexuality is a money making business. Because if we're separate from it, we can be controlled and we need the pharmacies, and I know that from I'm not debunking, but a lot of stuff we do not need. And also
Mhm.
women, when we're really well fucked, excuse my language, by ourselves or by a
Mhm.
partner, we love ourselves more and we're not doing all of these things to our bodies and all of these things of like having to
Mhm.
contort ourselves and quieten ourselves down so that we'll get chosen. It's like we're so much more ourselves and we
Mhm.
end up, it's such a huge rabbit hole that the conversations really need to bring how important it is
Mhm.
back into the center and to start removing, like to be removing these layers of shame and guilt around it when it's the
Mhm.
most natural thing on the planet. So,
Mhm. I think you and I need to sit down again, having another conversation, because I think this is
mm,
where it will bring us to start having these conversations and people
yeah.
listening to this and start asking questions, when there's so much to be unfold. It's like that
Hmm.
onion, peel those layers up and get to the
Exactly.
core of it.
Yes.
So I definitely would love to have
Mm.
another conversation with you. But in the meantime, Melissa, where can people reach you? What's
Mm.
the best way to get in contact with you?
By aeroplane to Puerto Vallarta is one
Oh
way.
man!
When I hold my retreats and stuff like that. Um,
Oh, lovely.
I know, right? Just come straight to Central America.
Yes,
No, on Instagram, it's I'll put the link down here because I've
perfect.
also been, so I'm building a new account because when you talk about truth, things get happen. So it's sex, love, and intimacy, but not with the E. SX.love.intimacy because we've got to keep things PG. I have a Substack, so you can get, and I have a whole. There's yes, with the subscription, there's paid, but there's also free subscription, which is really juicy. So you can get in on there because I also think, and I was writing about that this morning. Actually, when we're choosing a coach or if we want to work with someone, I think it's really important to be versed with the way that we speak, and so that you really feel in, so that you're making a decision that really works for you. So that's what I love about my Substack. You can be on there, receive my emails, my Instagram, and my website is melissalouise.world. And yeah,
Perfect.
come and
What I
come
will do
and
is I
play
will
with me. Come
definitely.
and join me.
Oh, you know what? It's funny you said that. I will definitely do that because I think again, it's all about development. It's all about growth.
Mhm.
It's all about being open and
Mhm.
welcoming anything
Mhm.
that's new.
Yeah.
There's no shame about it. There's nothing. I
Mhm.
mean, the more I learn, the better it is. I am in my 50s, or I will be in my 50s in the next couple
I know. I'm
months.
so excited for you. It's the best.
And like we said earlier, it's not the death of us. It's like a rebirth of us
Mm.
women in our 50s where, life is just the beginning.
Yes, it is. It
So,
is.
Melissa, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much coming on
Mm.
and talking all about the juicy stuff and sharing all your knowledge about sexuality and everything. Again, I appreciate
Mm.
you.
Thank you. It's been so my pleasure, and thank you for having me. It's been such an honor. I truly
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Till next time.